All right, let's try this again. So maybe y'all will get it that you were out there waiting. That didn't work. What's up, Steven? Well, I see you found me again, Mike. Apparently, you can't set up a live stream on your phone and then convert it to the desktop. It doesn't work. I figured that out. I couldn't get the damn thing to go live. I was like, well, come on now. Man, I tell you what, there's been some weather out there, hasn't there? How about Buffalo getting pummeled with snow? I think it had like 6.5 feet. That's crazy. Hey, we got a whole 5 of you in here tonight. What's up, Danny? How the heck are you? I actually gave a little bit of notice that I was going to be on tonight. Trim's running again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I tell you what, the other side is just stirring. I think it's kind of funny. The SOH decided to step down high conveniently, so she didn't get indicted or because I guarantee they were going to come after her. What's up, Scott? How is everybody tonight? Oh, goodness gracious. So my buddy at work got me on Facebook page, GM technicians on there, and I tell you what, I'm not surprised. There is a ton of guys getting out of leaving the dealership. I can't say I'm surprised. I think it's going to be about time for old Smitty to do the same thing and start looking for, I don't know, either an independent or something different because the dealership is just not paying the bills anymore. So I may hit it hard and heavy after the first year, but I'm not going to make any changes until then. I got to make sure to get on my vacation too. I really hate to leave the people, I guess you could say. The place has been a great place to work. But the way the industry is going, um, just my opinion, y'all, electric cars are not the answer. They're expensive. They have a huge carbon footprint. They don't tell you all that stuff in the media, of course, what it costs to produce one. Plus, you look at all these fires. These firefighters can't put these things out if they go up in flames. Um, they're just they're going to be a total loss if they catch on fire. Um, yeah, Scott, it's getting worse. Hey, Jerry, nice to see you stop in. Do me a favor, y'all, and smash that like button for me. Help the old YouTube algorithm get going on it. I would appreciate it. Um, I haven't been able to post a lot of videos lately. I've got, believe me, guys, I've got lots of hours of videos recorded. I just have not had time to get them edited. Um, but yeah, it may be time for old Smitty to move on too. To do what? I'm not sure. I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I'll just put my resume out there and see if anybody's interested in my skills and my expertise and see how it goes. Yeah, that's the same here, Scott. I rarely get a customer pay ticket doing what I do, and I'm not going to sacrifice the quality of my work versus the quantity, if that makes any sense. Um, I'm more apt to take a little bit of extra time to make sure that the thing's done right than to have to try to rush through it and, make everybody happy. It just, it, I don't, I can attribute that to my comeback rate is next to nothing. I don't have stuff come back, and I'm proud of that. Um, but I'm not as fast as I used to be. Now, I can make time on customer pay stuff, but I just can't make time on warranty anymore. It's for the young kids that can figure out shortcuts, but here's the problem. There's too many sites out there that the manufacturer find that people boast about, "Oh, well, I did this way and cut a whole bunch of time off." Well, guess what? They see that, and then they cut the times. So your time that you just blabbed about somebody about something you did so much faster than what it called for, well, guess what? Now you cut the time for everybody else that does it, and you can't make a living at it. They're cutting the times so bad, uh, that and they don't want a paid diagnosis. Here's something else they've started doing. They have this new thing called Savvy, and I think it's just GM that's doing it right now, but, um, Savvy is this thing that where the service advisors, can now plug this thing into the diagnostic connector, and they'll pull codes right there on the drive. Well, what does that do for us? Except for the customer sees all these codes and they think that, "Oh my god, my car's falling apart. It's got all these U codes and communication codes, and oh my god, my car's falling apart." When they don't understand that a lot of things are like a lot of the codes are bogus codes, and um, it'll set a code as a result of something else. And not to mention, when they pull it up there on the drive, well, that takes their diagnosis time, which isn't squat for GM as it is. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike. Jerry, those aren't electric trucks that start at the red light. Those are called auto stop. It's some stupid idea that they've come up with that the vehicle actually shuts off at a stoplight under the right conditions, to supposedly save on fuel and emissions. But I was always taught um, when I was growing up that the constant start stop of an engine causes more wear because it has to build up oil pressure. Um, Hence the AFM system on it. Maybe that's the cause or the reason that we're having so many lifter failures. Still, it's a flawed system. Um, and I don't think you benefit much from having a thing off start up and shut down and start up and shut down. It just to me it puts extra wear on everything. I That's another dumb design, but that's just my opinion. we're entitled to opinions, so yeah, you're exactly right, Scott. I mean, they do pay quite a bit less than uh, than customer pay. Tire pressure sensor. Mike, yeah, it can, um, because not necessarily the tire pressure sensor will set a code, which it will. It sets it in the chassis control. It's a C code, which usually it sets it in. Oh, it's got its own module for. They used to put it in what they call the RCDLR, which is the remote controlled door lock receiver. It was all part of integrated into that, and it can set the ABS codes and traction control codes because it sees that tire spinning slower than the rest. Because anytime you get a tire that uh, is low on air, it wants to rotate slower than the rest of them, and it will cause inaccurate. It'll say that the tire speed is too slow or the too few pulses or something like that, and it can set up an ABS or traction code. Ooh, Jerry, that's too many. That's too much meowing. Steven, I'll have you know that because I know you were always talking about the cats are going to bite me, but we uh, we had to send Zoe crossing over the Rainbow Bridge this week. Um, Pretty tough. She was the one that you guys have seen a couple of times. She was the real uh, real furry one, and she was always talking. Um, she got to the point where she was eating and her eye socket was bulging, and the wife took her to the vet, and apparently she was growing a tumor um, on the roof of her mouth, and it was growing up behind her eye socket and pushing the eye out. Um, we decided there probably wasn't any going to be any treatment for it, and it wasn't something that I wanted to see her suffer through. I mean, she's already been through a lot, and I tried to do my best for her, and we tried to give her the best life that we could. But no, Stephen, I didn't get bit. I just so we ended up sending her across the Rainbow Bridge, and that was tough. She was at least 15 or 16, and I can tell you one thing: the house is so quiet without her. She was always talking, but we had to make the decision. It wasn't right for her because she would have been suffering, and we're just like, it's time. That was the final. That was the final call in that said that she was ready. Um, I didn't want to see her suffer, so of course that was rough on my wife too. Um, she was the one that had to put her down. I think I had come to grasp with the reality of it that she may not be with us much longer. But I guess I wasn't ready to give up on it, and she just that was nature's way of saying that, hey, I'm done. Just let me go. And so that's what we did. But you always think about it, when you're done, did I do the right thing? Um, I've had to put down the last dozen pets that we've had. I've been the one that have to put them down because my wife doesn't like to be in the room, and I don't think she was in the room when uh, when Zoe went on. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you, those pets rely on you, and they're a part of your life. And the last thing that they want to be is alone when they take their final breath. So, kind of like when you have a loved one or something, and you have a grandparent or something like that that's going to pass. The last thing they want to be is alone. They don't want to be alone in a nursing home. They want to be with family. Um, that's tough, but that's what reality is. Um, it's much peaceful to them because they don't understand a lot of that stuff. Not the grandparents, but the dogs and cats. They don't understand what's going on, but if they know that you're there to comfort them, um, as they pass on, it's a lot better for them. Yeah, she was, oh, I'm trying to think when we got her. She was a couple years old when we got her, I do believe. And so she was at least 15 or 16. What's up, Ice? Yes, I mean, we like I said, we gave her a good life. What was cool is the fact that we got to take her camping uh, one last time with us. We took her camping when we went uh, up to Georgia, um, and she went with us, and she did really well. She was really content. Um, she got to eat some good food. Well, to her, it's good food. We don't usually feed them wet food, but I don't know. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Jerry. Um, the more and the more I see about the foods that we eat and the foods that we feed our pets, and I think all the diseases and stuff that it causes because of the preservatives and the processed stuff. Uh, it's my opinion that if we could get away from all of that, which is next to impossible. It's not impossible, but it is next to impossible. If we could get away from half of that stuff, we'd probably be in a lot better shape. Steven, I don't think we're cooking anything for Thanksgiving. In fact, I think that we're going to end up at the beach, weather permitting, obviously. But I think if I looked on my phone, and that's going to bum the wife out something fierce. I think if I looked at my phone, we're supposed to get rain down here on Thursday. There's a chance, but it looks like it could be pretty decent. They're calling for 73 for a high on Thursday with just a 24% chance of some rain. So we may get to go out there and enjoy some weather. It's going to be halfway decently warm. Been cool out here the last couple of days. In fact, the wife broke down, turned the heat on today. It was just kind of chilly in the house. Yeah, Mike, I'm totally agree with you. I've tried several times to get a cow or two out in the field, and then the wife says no. And I says, "Why?" It says, "Because I can't kill them." Says, "Well, you wouldn't be killing them. I'd take them to the slaughterhouse." And no, they'd be killing our pet. No, it's not a pet, honey. It's food to eat. I had, thought about getting some chickens and stuff like that, and she said no, and she's right. We don't have time for that stuff, and but if it comes down to the fact, it could get bad enough to where we're going to have to. Um, there is so much unrest in our government right now. It's just unreal, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Um, we've got a very long 2 years to go, and hopefully we'll end up at the better end of it, and we don't end up in the middle of a war or something like that between now and then. Hopefully, with us gaining control of the house, that some things will change, but the the tabulation issue with people's choices was flawed like nobody's business, and I don't care what you say, it was rigged. Danny, that 9-speed's been out for a while. Um, I've had to repair one so far. I had to replace one on a Cadillac when they first come out, and they first come out in 2020. I'm thinking it's somewhere around there because the Traverse came out with them, and then they started using it in the Cadillac XT4, which is the little SUV. The XT4 was equivalent to an Equinox in size. Yeah, you all up north have been getting hit pretty hard as far as temperature's concerned. I've been watching Ryan Hall, y'all, and he's a pretty good forecaster. Um, yeah, yeah. Right now, back up home, uh, it's 22 degrees. Looks like they're going to warm up a little bit too. It's supposed to be a whopping 49 on Thanksgiving up there. Low temperatures down in the 20s and low 30s. So yeah, it's going to be cool up there. Tennessee, Murfreesboro. Now, see, they're supposed to get rain on Thanksgiving up there. I got a couple of cities that programmed in my phone that we visit on a regular. Of course, Murfreesboro is one of them that we stop in for a hotel uh, when we go up north. They've got a really nice hotel that we like to stay in. It's kind of neat. It's got pretty good amenities, and the rooms are always clean. Not real expensive, but it's good. It's a good place. I don't have to drive any farther south. Mike, I got palm trees down here, so we're good, but it still gets chilly. Not as bad as up north, obviously. West Virginia. I think there's another YouTuber that's up there in West Virginia. I think that's where um oh, what's the name of that couple that there's a couple up there that built a off-grid house by themselves, built an A-frame house. Um, it's pretty badass. Wild Wonderful Off Grid is what the name of the YouTube channel is. You ought to check them out. It's a good one to watch. Um, I think they got it just because uh, she's a looker, and but he's an electrician, and like I said, they decided to do this thing full time, and they've got a huge following. I think they've got over 1 million followers. But they built this A-frame house from scratch, just the two of them, and it's all off grid solar. It's got solar with a backup generator, and they've got lithium batteries that they run on. But the house is super efficient, and they just broke ground on their um, bedroom wing, which they built the main part of the house first, and then they were going to build the bedroom wing afterwards because the kids are growing up. They've got 3 kids. Um, but anyway, what the point of that one was is they've got all their own farm animals. They've got chickens, goats. Uh, they've got a couple of cows. Um, what else they got? I think they got some pigs there. Um, but just beautiful piece of land that they got. Just absolutely gorgeous. And it's back in the trees where they've got this place set up. Really talented. I mean, Jerry, I'm not sure on that. Um, I'm kind of hoping that the Chiefs go to Super Bowl again. I'd like to see that happen one more time. Yeah, Mahomes is a phenom for sure. I mean, that dude has a lot of talent. Um, a lot of talent. You know, it's kind of funny. They made a train. They got Smith Schuster that they got they picked up from Pittsburgh, and they let Tyreek Hill go, and he went to crap. Where'd he end up going? Well, anyway, he went to one of the other teams, and he's just cooking. I mean, I don't understand why they let him go. I really don't. But the trades that they did um, seem to have panned out. So he went to Miami. That's right. Excuse me. But I tell you what, the past couple of days, my freaking face has been hot. My ears have been hot. I'm wondering if I've been running a fever and just not knowing it. I mean, I hasn't really shown much signs, but hey, it is what it is. But Foxy back there over my shoulder has found the blanket. Did you hear your name, Foxy? Foxy Mama. Foxy Mama. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you comfy? She's just looking at me. What do you think, Dad? As she will if she wants to play with you enough. Kind of a love bite. Yeah, Mike, I got to do the same thing on my pickup. I need to get working on it before it completely falls apart. Trouble is, the drivetrain will outlast the body on the poor thing. I still got to get down there and get that cab and everything, and I'm just not looking forward to doing that because that's a humongous job. Lots of work. Not too bad to do, Jerry, if you got the right tool. I've actually got a cam bearing tool sitting in my shop. I don't think I've even used it one time. I thought I would use it more, but I haven't. I think I've used it once. But ooh. Yeah, the problem is too, Mike, is you can't there's not really much substitute unless you want to run new steel lines, and that's a pain in the butt. But unless the plastic fuel lines broke, I don't know why you'd be wanting to replace them because they don't go bad, other than they break, obviously. But excuse me, it's seriously $150 for new plastic fuel lines is not that bad because they're like a polycarbonate and stuff like that. They're a special, but they have to be that way to be able to be compatible with ethanol fuel. Because the normal steel lines, ethanol will eventually eat it up if you let it sit too long. Jerry, it's not. It's just sitting in the yard. I haven't had time to work on it, and I'm getting discouraged because I don't know that I'm ever going to get to it. I'm frustrated. I want to get it done. I want to be able to drive it in this lifetime, but everything else keeps getting in the way. Danny, the last models of um, the F cars in the fourth gen, like 2000, 2001, 2002, they used a plastic tank in it. And from what I understand, that tank is a direct, well, almost a direct fit into a third gen. Hey, Foxy, stop. Good Lord. But yeah, the fuel tank thing is going to be fun. I think what I've decided to do between the two cars is I think I'm going to go ahead and put the tune port back in Scarlet, and I'm going to put the and man, as much as I hate to do it, but I may put the tune port back in Scarlet just to keep it somewhat stock, and then I may put the 2-liter turbo in the other one that I've got. Danny, the E85 system's not that big a deal, but you have to have some way to measure the content of the fuel so that the computer will make adjustments accordingly. Now, that being said, um, on a naturally aspirated car, you will use more E85 to get the same mileage you would if you were running regular pump gas, because it is an alcohol. It's an ethanol alcohol. And although alcohol controls detonation much better than, and it runs much cooler than regular fuel, it also takes a whole lot more to do the same amount of work as a regular gallon of gasoline. So it's good. People that run E85 basically do it for uh, engines that are boosted, either turbo or supercharged. The reason why they do that is because they can put more timing in it because it has less tendency to detonate, um, and you can get more power out of it. However, it takes more to run it. Takes much bigger injectors if you plan on doing it, um, so on and so forth. Danny, the answer on the 5th gen, no, they do not interchange. At 5th gen, they went to um, a saddle tank. In other words, you've got independent rear suspension on a uh, on a 5th gen, and so it has a saddle tank to go around the drive shaft. So they do not interchange. It's got a freaking tune port and a K5 Blazer would be a perfect choice for that because that's a heavy vehicle, and since the tune port makes a bunch of torque, that would be ideal. I mean, you that thing would run like a top. My idea is if you're going to build a street car or something of that nature, you're not going to live in the upper RPMs, and that's what they knew about building the tune port, or for that matter, the Vortec engine. They knew that it wasn't going to spend that time up there. They wanted to concentrate more on the mid range, low to mid range, because that's where most of the time that's where the engine's going to spend a lot of its life. And so if you get that torque in that area, low to mid range, the drivability of it's going to be phenomenal. You'll have see the pants feel. It'll feel good. It'll drive good. Um, when you step on the throttle, it's going to have response. You don't have to get it wound up for it to do something. Uh, that's why they do that. And that's if you look at a lot of the way they build these new engines, even let's take for instance the 3.6, a high feature V6, which is GM's go-to V6 engine anymore. It's, a 4-cam, uh, 24 valve, um, 24 valve engine. Um, Inherently, a 4 valve per cylinder engine will not make as much torque as a standard push rod is because it flows so well. Um, so the way they try to compensate for that is they make a long runner intake to help with the torque that it lacks from being a very efficient cylinder head. Um, the old, say for, um, are you talking about the old Iron Duke, Mike? The 2.5 liter Pontiac engine? If that's the case, the last time I think they used that engine was, I want to say the last year that engine was in production was 88 or 89. I think it was 88 was the last year they produced that engine. Oh, I didn't realize they had them up in 91. I forgot about the Oldsmobiles and the Sierras, but I thought that they were using the 2 point. Well, wait a minute. No, that was a 2.2 liter that replaced it. So it'd have to be probably then if that was the case, it'd probably have to be 91. Um, I just realized these glasses make my eyes look huge. My reading goggles, my reading eyeballs. And Danny, even the body itself would not allow you to put a fifth gen fuel tank in a fourth gen car. It's a whole different chassis. They quit producing the F cars in 2002, and they brought it back as a completely different chassis in 2010. Um, they called it an F car, but it was starting to build on the Epsilon chassis. Um, Whole different car from the ground up. No parts interchange in between those two cars, body or suspension wise. Now, obviously, the engines and transmissions you could make work in a fourth or third gen or second gen or first gen if you wanted. Yeah, I'm not surprised you can't find any, Mike. They're long gone. I mean, they weren't huge on power to begin with. Um, you're better off if you're going to keep that car is to find you a 3 liter or a 3.3 liter. Uh, and drivetrain and just plop that in there and go. Mm, Excuse me. That's not something I've heard yet, Mike. Uh, Now I've heard that Buick made an announcement that if the dealerships aren't willing to sell their vehicles, they're buying up all the Buick dealerships because I guess from now on all Buicks are going to be SUVs. Well, not now on, but coming up here shortly, all Buicks are going to be SUVs, and all of them are going to be electric. And there's I had to do a poll, but there's already been people out there that have answered it. I mean, I really don't think people really want electric vehicles, nor do they want to buy one. I just I just can't get into it. I really can't. Yeah, I mean, if Buick is going to sell nothing but electric, I don't see him surviving. Kind of like Pontiac didn't. Pontiac, it was built for excitement, but uh, they were a faltering brand of Pontiac. They only had a few cars that were worth it. Now I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite cars that Pontiac ever came out with was the Grand Prix, the GT, um, 97 and up. If you've ever driven one of those cars, that was a solid car. They rode good. Hang on a minute, guys. What are you doing? Oh, well, I'm in the middle of a live stream. Yeah. What? So I guess if you're going to be up for a while, I'll call you back later. All right, brother. Bye. I forget my nephew stays up late. I guess he's trying to help his brother out. But the Pontiac Grand Prix, now when they changed the Grand Am, to me that was a flop. That car fit and finish, end result of it was terrible. And of course, they had the Trans Ams and the Firebirds, and that died in 2002. Um, but their sedans, um, the Grand Prix, they made an attempt at it. Even the Grand Prix weren't that good in my book. The Grand Prix was what am I thinking of? Well, they had the Bonneville, they had the SSE and the SSEI supercharged, but I think when they changed the later models of the Grand Prix, they weren't the same. They just weren't. They made a couple of changes that weren't the greatest. Um, Buick came out with some nice cars, but they couldn't find anything that was really appealing enough to the consumer. Buick was always known for kind of the luxury car. Um, The LeSabre, my aunt had a 2004. That thing was fantastic. But to me, I think they're kind of slowly dying. Um, where it is to me is, in my opinion, people are not interested in cars much anymore. They're interested in SUVs because of the room, uh, what you can put in them. Um, I don't think I don't think cars are where it's at anymore. Me personally, I'd rather have a truck or a big SUV. Um, now this Honda Pilot I got's pretty decent. It was my dad's and I inherited it, and I love it but at the same time, I wish it was something bigger. Uh, but it gets good gas mileage. It really does, and it runs good. But the problem I'm having is, man, if that thing breaks, I'm not sure. I'm not going to have all the tools to do what I need to do, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, now, see, Mike, I liked almost all of the Oldsmobiles. Almost every one of them. Even when they came out with the Alero, I liked it better than I did the Grand Am. The Alero seemed like it had better fit and finish than the Grand Am did. Um, I thought the interiors were nicer. Um, I always liked the Tornado Trofeos. I thought those were a fantastic looking car. Um, and they rode good too. I uh, I just I guess I'm too old school and I don't like a lot of the new crap. Um, the Grand Am in the late '80s, they were more of a boxy thing. They were bigger than the Sunbird. Um, those were a good looking car. They were The Sunbird was a J car, and the Grand Am was an N car. N as in Nancy. Um, the Sunbird, man, that was a tiny car. But yeah, Jerry, I would agree to that. The older Le Mans for sure. Mike, somebody told me the other day we got to talking about Saturn, and they said that Saturn was one of those companies that GM come up with that I guess they were never profitable. Um, although they seemed like they were decently put together. From what I understand, they just were never profitable. Yeah, Mike, I liked the Aleros. I mean, I thought they were a decent car. Um, and the 60-degree V6 they were using back then was pretty decently bulletproof engine if you could keep the intakes from not leaking. If the intakes wouldn't leak, um, those stupid engines would run forever. They were good. They were a good, well balanced engine. Um, when they came out with a 3.9 liter, which was kind of rare, but you could get it. They used them in the what's the name of that? Uh, it was the Uglier and Sin Malibu SS, but it had a ram horn style intake on it that made that thing produce a crap load of torque, kind of like the tune ports did. And they were rated at 245 horse, which doesn't sound like much, but 245 horse was more than a supercharged 3800. Uh, you know, it was, and it was so much smoother. Yeah, I mean, them things would run, those things would run like that a 500,000 miles and not really give a whole lot of hassle, you know. It it was just that good of an engine. It had its fair share of leaks, you know, oil pans and intake gaskets. But if you could keep the dang thing sealed up, when they came out with the 3.5 liter and they changed the intake gaskets and the way the thing was put together, they sealed up quite a bit better. And excuse me, you didn't have as many leaks on them. They were good stuff. Yeah, and they got good gas mileage. Yeah, absolutely. Um, my first venture into those is I had a 1989 Corsica LT Chevrolet. Um, got it brand new. It was for a school car when I went to tech school up in Iowa, and it had the 2.8 liter V6 in it. And that was before they started having a bunch of intake gaskets because the intake was different on those. But that one back then was only rated 120 horse. And it's amazing what some years and refinement went from 120 horse to 245 horse. Out of what another half a liter, well, another liter difference, and you got that much more power out of it. And that was a good sounding, good running car. It was a good school car. Of course, I was a kid, and I probably got rid of it way before I should have. But I couldn't pass up on this 81 Turbo TA that I picked up and traded for. It was just beautiful. Yep, yep. Buick Skylarks are good. Yeah, it seems like they changed something after like the 1990 model year, Mike, that they had an issue with. Uh, I thought the first ones were better. The 89 and 90s were probably the best years of those cars in my book. Um, had a, excuse me, had a friend of mine when I was living up in Iowa. He had one too. I had an LT, um, which kind of a strange option. It had the sport suspension on it. It was storm gray metallic, and it had red highlighted badging on it, which was really pretty cool. Automatic, power door locks, but manual windows, which I thought was kind of strange. But it had everything else: AC and rear window defogger, and just the standard seats. But the buddy of mine had an LTZ in 1990. It had the 16-inch wheels on it with a 5-speed with a 2.8 liter, and his was white with the red highlighted badging. And that car was pretty fun to drive. And we switched one time when we were delivering pizzas, and he says, "I want mine back." He says, "Yeah, me too." But either way, they were good cars. Yeah, they had the aluminum back then. I forgot about that one. The Lumina Z34 had that 3.4 liter 4 cam V6 in it with a timing belt from hell. They super long timing belt on them. Alternator in the worst spot, obviously. And man, when they were right though, that dang thing would run. They carried that one up until like 90. 92. No, they had it longer than that. 94, 95, something like that. Maybe it was 96 because they had the other one, the Grand Prix SE 96. Man, that was a good looking car with the fender flares on it and the honeycomb wheels or the cross lace wheels. You get that same 3400 in that one. That was a nice car. I liked Pontiac just because they had the red gauging in it. I had a 96 Grand Am that I got pretty cheap, and it had the red gauging. I loved that. So easy to see at night. Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. All right, fellers and ladies, if you're out there, I think I'm going to call it a night. Been a pretty decent night. I had a few more people than I usually have, which is kind of nice. I'd love to get double digits all the time up there for people in the chat room, but it is what it is. I just do this for you guys more than anything. So at any rate, I hope you all enjoyed tonight as well as I did. Should be here next week. But until then, make sure to take care of yourself and your loved ones. Stay safe out there. And until next week, God bless you and God bless America. We'll see you later.